All right, my second grade friends, what you are going to do for this lesson is you are going to have one piece of drawing paper, and I sent home a piece of drawing paper in your take-home folder, so you should have it. So you're going to pull this out, but before we use this, I would also just grab a piece of copy paper. So when you watched the PowerPoint presentation, we were talking about representing sunflowers in some different ways. And so what I first would like us to do is to brainstorm what, let's think back to representing the center of sunflowers and also the petals. So maybe just start by drawing a circle and thinking back to some of the examples we talked about, how you could have a circle within a circle. Then we talked about how some of the and again, these are just some of the ideas that I remember, but please feel free to also use your own ideas. So I'm just playing around with some circles in there, and maybe I want to have some circles going around there. We also talked about a center where we would just draw vertical and then we would draw horizontal. And even for fun, we could put dots in there. Let me think about some other ones. We could also think about where we start with the circle and then we do just sort of some like that. And we can do combinations of these. Like let's say we do and then I do another ring. And then maybe I do another ring around there. So that's another option. This is Herbay's thinking. We could do a swirl around and then do so I want you, based on some of the images that you saw in the PowerPoint, and you can go back and even look at the PowerPoint, come up with some different ways that you want to represent the center of your sunflowers. And then once you do that, you can also then practice. We talked about how some of the petals were more rounded like this, some were more like this. Some kind of went around fuzzy like this because they were the teddy bear ones. Some were really long and thin. So just kind of in your sketchbook, take some time and just experiment around with different petal shapes and with different centers of your sunflower. There's one, and then maybe I want to add a few more petals in between. So that's one, and then maybe I just want to do a simple like that. There were also ones where it was more like and maybe I'm putting some other petals around there. And then on this one, like that. So play around with some ideas first, and then what you can do is after you play around with some petal ideas and some center ideas, then we can go ahead and get out our drawing paper. And what I'm going to have you do is I want you to also get out your crayons, and we will go ahead and I want you to draw maybe like at least three sunflowers on your drawing paper. So I'm just going to put kind of my sketch idea sort of off to the side, and now I'm going to get my drawing paper and collect my crayons, and once you get your crayons together, then we'll start the next part. Alright guys, now what you're going to do is you're going to make 3 sunflowers that we're going to be using next week as well. So the first thing I like to do is maybe start in pencil. So I'm going to try to I'm going to maybe divide up my paper into some sections so that I can kind of see how much space I have to work. So the first thing I might do is think back. So I'm going to draw the center of the sunflower. And if you want, you can kind of sketch it in pencil first. Or you may just want to go ahead and start drawing it with your crayon first, and that's okay too. What I would suggest is that we don't necessarily need to color this all in, because I'm going to show us kind of some cool techniques that we can use next week as well to add color. So when you're filling in your sunflowers, you don't need to color every last little bit of them. there was that. And then maybe I'm going to take my brown. So there's that. And then I'm going to think about my petals. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some petals that are kind of like this. So I'm just making some curved lines. You can just kind of like have your, I'm just kind of making them curving up and then curving back. There's one, and then I might just do that. And then I can take my other crayons and I'm going to okay. And then once I have that outlined, I can add a few more lines if I want to, but I'm not going to maybe necessarily color the whole thing in with my crayon. Maybe just adding some more lines. And I'll do the same thing. So we want to leave some white spaces, and you might say, well, Mrs. Herbay, normally you tell us to color it all in, and I normally do, but I'm going to show you something kind of cool we can do next week. So we want to leave some white spaces for our flowers. So there's flower number 1, and then go ahead and make 2 more flowers. You can draw them, make them different than the first one that you drew. And after you have both, all 3 flowers drawn, then just save this paper and we will use it again next week.